Oh, look who just ruined someone's whole existence with a single statement. Hello, gorgeous chaos agents. Hello, accidental truth tellers. The ones that deliver a joke so crisp, precise, and excruciatingly correct that the audience falls quiet. And then nobody laughs anymore. Welcome back. Something just happened, didn't it? You made a statement as casually as breathing, wrapped it in a chuckle, and delivered it like a punchline. And then you saw their expression shift. You saw the grin freeze. You sensed the atmosphere change from comedy club to crime scene. Because what you said was not a joke, it was a revelation. That throwaway sentence struck them like a freight train of reality, which they had been avoiding for years. They're drifting silent, awake at AM, scanning your messages, trying to figure out whether you know, see, or have been watching all along. Here's something they'll never admit: the joke was not random. You didn't just make it up. That portion of your psyche that interprets energy as subtitles. You caught up on something genuine, something they'd been concealing, something they assumed was invisible. And you stated it out. You stated that with a smile. Like it was nothing. But that was everything. It was the only thing they prayed about. Nobody ever notices. The secret is guarded like a nuclear code. They concealed the truth under carefully cultivated identities and false confidence. And you simply excavated it, wrapped it in comedy, and walked away as if you hadn't just detonated their whole self-esteem. They are now unable to sleep. They repeat that moment over and over, scrutinizing your tone and reanalyzing your words, attempting to persuade themselves you didn't mean it, but you did, and they know. Imagine this. You are part of a group, either online or in person. Everyone is calm and the talk is flowing. Guards are down. It makes no difference what someone says. Your mind joins dots quicker than sound. When you speak up, this well-designed comment disguised as a joke appears instantly and easily. Perhaps it is about their relationship or their career. Perhaps the difference between who they claim to be and who they really are. Either way it lands. When it lands, nothing is ever the same again. You said it. Everybody laughs. The moment passes, but you eventually notice it. That one individual is no longer laughing. Their gaze drifts elsewhere. Their stance shifted. The grin is still there, but it does not contact their face. They nod, but they aren't truly present. Because in that one throwaway joke, you simply mentioned the one thing they've been afraid someone would notice. You just unveil their hidden reality and call it humor. What makes it crazy is that you didn't intend to do it. You weren't attempting to expose anybody, were not seeking vengeance, and weren't really thinking that deeply. It just came out. Your mind saw a pattern, joined the dots, and spoke before your filter could stop it. That is what worries them most. You were not even trying. It implies your perception operates on frequencies that they believed were encrypted. You may easily see through individuals while they strive hard to preserve illusions. They're now questioning whether you could see it so readily. What else are you seeing? What else have you observed but decided not to share? Suddenly, every encounter with you seems like a minefield. They can't relax around you. They can't execute their regular performance since you've demonstrated. You can see right through it. Here's what goes through their minds when it occurs. First comes the shock, the gut blow of realization. Then denial. Trying to persuade oneself you were just kidding. Simply fortunate with your wording. But denial fades quickly. Then follows paranoia. The obsessive repeat. Examining every sentence and look. They begin asking themselves questions that they do not want to know the answers to. How long did they know? Have they been monitoring me? Did someone tell them? Are they psychic? Will they say more? Who else knows? But the question that truly plagues them and keeps them looking at the ceiling is this. If they witnessed that, what more do they observe that I don't know about myself? And now is when everything changes. You cease being simply another individual to them. You become a menace, a mirror that reveals fractures in their well-created facade that they were unaware of. You have become dangerous. Not in a violent manner, but in the sense that truth is hazardous. You are the one who cannot be lied to. You notice micro-expressions, tone shifts, and energy changes that others overlook as they listen to speech. You're focused on the quiet between them while others observe their conduct. You notice what is avoided. You don't accept superficial explanations. You discover paradoxes lurking underneath. This is not something you've learned. It's how you're wired. Your brain processes numerous levels of reality simultaneously. You see patterns, chaos, connections, and unpredictability. Every now and again the truth comes out as a joke. That is just too exact to be a coincidence. They'll go crazy trying to explain it and wonder whether you're clairvoyant, manipulating, or covertly probing them. But the reality they can't bear is far simpler. You simply see them. You don't just stare at people. You really see them. Not the performance, not the character, and not the well-curated highlight reel. You can see the human underlying it all. The version they are frightened of becoming is the self they have spent their whole lives attempting to avoid. You see them so vividly that you can identify their dread out and make it seem funny. That is what is breaking them. Not that you noticed, but that you observed so easily and casually that they question whether everyone else sees it as well. If they had been living in a delusion that only they believed in, they did not go on even if you did. For you, it was simply another passing statement for them. It became a timestamp both before and after you spoke it. They recreate the scene in slow motion, recalling what you were wearing, who was there, and how you said it. They have turned your laughing into an interrogation, and your words into proof. They've persuaded themselves that your joke was not random, but rather a coded message gained via exposure. What started as a joke has developed into. They are obviously aware. They've always known and are only waiting to speak more. They are now analyzing every memory via this new prism. That time you grinned in a certain manner. You knew when you asked that particular question you were testing them. That was the moment you fell silent. They're certain you were evaluating them. Every shared moment is now being investigated since they discovered you weren't just existing in their presence. You were observing. You were reading layers that they didn't realize they were disclosing. And this awareness is pulling them apart. They believed they were safe. They assumed their masks were airtight. They felt their performance was convincing. And then, with one joke, one casual comment, you demolished that illusion altogether. You weren't intending to harm them. You were simply being yourself. However, your version of yourself carries a level of perception that seems like mind reading to individuals who are used to concealing. And here's something they'll never say out. They are terrified of you now. Not in a loud, dramatic fashion. They'll never confess it, but they could even behave more friendly, engaged, and interested around you. But behind it, there is a new stream and undercurrent of cautious calculation and silent apprehension. Because they realize you are different from everyone else. You don't just hear words. You can discern truths. You don't only observe faces. You decode souls. You are the one who sees. And this alone makes you dangerous. In a world where people are addicted to concealing, you do not need to dig, probe, or interrogate. Truth just emerges in front of you. The difficulty for them is that they have based their whole lives on illusion. Their control is based on people not seeing. But you may break the spell just by being. You are impervious to manipulation. Charm has no effect on him, nor has theatrics. You don't seek approval or get persuaded by superficial feelings. You listen to tone rather than words. You experience energy rather than explanations. Masks are readily recognizable to you, much as brushstrokes are to artists. They can't play their typical games with you since you've already learned the unsaid rules. You read between the lines, uncover the motivations behind the grins, and identify discrepancies. You cannot fool them before they complete their narrative. So they're stuck. They are unable to entice you because they are aware of their vulnerability. However, they cannot separate themselves since doing so would validate your argument. It would discreetly acknowledge that you were correct. You have become their conundrum. They dread the individual yet can't stop themselves from circling them. Every encounter seems like navigating a minefield. Every word they say poses a danger. They are scared that one misstep, one wrong sentence, would result in another disclosure from you. Here's the unpleasant reality about folks who use performance art to cover their whole identity. Every movement, word, and expression is rehearsed. They've spent years developing an image of who they want to be perceived, believing themselves that if they play the role well enough, no one would ever find out who they really are, including their work, relationships, and confidence. Everything is depending on how convincing the deception is. Their self-worth is based on deceit and exposing. Even an accident seems like annihilation. Then you came along. There's no effort. There is no aim to destroy. Just presence and awareness. Perception. One offhand remark. A joke masquerading as humor. And now you've taken away years of deception. You did not want to disgrace them. You simply revealed the truth with ease. But for them, that moment changed everything. You demonstrate that their act is not airtight. Their disguise isn't flawless, and their secrets aren't as hidden as they imagined. You didn't simply hurt their ego. You undermined their whole feeling of security. Because if you could see it, how many others did as well but chose to remain silent out of sympathy? That's what scares them. What's strange is that you've probably forgotten what you said to yourself. It was nothing. The fleeting remark amid a sea of words. But for them, it was a psychological experience. They recall every intonation in your voice, every flicker in your countenance, and every sentence you spoke. They've repeated that scene hundreds of times, dissecting it like evidence, attempting to decipher what more you could know. They did not find your laughing funny. It was a revelation. It was exposure. It was divine judgment disguised as humor. They now live in this own hell, and you have become the mirror. They are unable to flee. They know you know, but they can't bring it up till it's confirmed. So they act. They grin broader, laugh louder, and speak quicker, attempting to replace the moment with noise. But it does not function. They are plagued by it. They worry whether anybody else observed or if the whole room caught up on what you did. Perhaps their secret was never as completely concealed as they imagined. Every time you speak now, they quiver inside, expecting another truth bomb to drop. They've begun analyzing every recollection you disclose with a new paranoid filter. That moment you smiled and fell silent. You must have known something. That one query you posed months ago was a test. You gazed at them for too long. You were studying them. They have made every second of your presence into an inquiry. They have recreated the complete history of your encounters into a case file called What Do They Know? What is harming them is not just the exposure, but also the casualness with which it occurs. You did not sit them down. You did not make it dramatic. You did not challenge them. You just said that their greatest guilt was as petty as remarking on the weather. That is what gives them courage. Because you thought their deepest secret wasn't worth dramatizing. It was plain, basic, and clear. You did not respect it as holy or strong. You viewed it as simple sense. And for someone whose whole identity is based on concealment, this is worse than humility. Erasure is what Asian represents. You helped them understand that the monster they had been concealing from everyone else was never really concealed. That what they had been guarding, dreading, and defending for years was always evident. You saw through it in seconds with no effort, no care. Most people don't comprehend the power of seeing without wanting to control, knowing without trying to show comprehension or exposing. Their head is now running non-stop. They are intimidated by your silence. They are afraid of your laughing. They are afraid by your tranquility, because it indicates that you already know more than you are stating. You have become the living embodiment of their greatest fear. A person who understands the answers without having to ask them. You aren't dangerous because you are harsh. You are dangerous because you are clear. You don't intimidate them with rage. You threaten them with knowledge. And it is the element they cannot beat. Because how can you combat someone who can see through illusions? How can you manipulate someone who is resistant to manipulation? How do you perform for someone who has already seen the script? You cannot. So they'll keep faking, smiling, and seeming normal while inside they're disintegrating. They will strive to replicate your calm and composure. But the truth has already done its job. You did not just reveal their untruth. You shattered their idea of control. You did not intend to become their reckoning. But it is precisely who you are. The difference in how serious it was for them and how casual it was for you. That is the breach through which everything starts to crumble. That is the unseen fault line that is causing them to lose their composure. Because to you, it was simply a fleeting moment, a statement, a joke, or a casual remark that didn't matter beyond the discussion. However, for them, it was an earthquake. It was the disintegration of a carefully crafted illusion they've spent years sustaining. You took it casually, and that is what ruined them. The brightness of your message helped them understand how obvious their darkness is. They've been exerting themselves attempting to conceal something that was obviously evident to anybody with the fortitude to look. And now they're asking whether you noticed that readily. Who else has seen it? That's when the behavioral transformation starts. Pay careful attention. The shift will be gradual at first. It begins quietly. They make eye contact for an extra second, laugh a bit too loudly, or become more aware of your responses than previously. Under the surface, they are recalibrating. They've recognized that your perspective isn't secure for their secrets, and they must find out what to do about it. From here, they often choose one of two paths: infiltration or isolation, both motivated by dread. Path 1. Infiltration. Keep your enemies near. This is when they attempt to entice you in. Suddenly they become extremely nice. They want to be with you to establish rapport, exchange inside jokes, and have late-night discussions. They begin to mimic your energy, compliment you more, and engage you more often. Everything under the pretext of proximity. But do not confuse this for a relationship. It's surveillance masquerading as friendliness. They're attempting to figure out how you think, what you notice, and how deep your understanding is. They will casually test you with inquiries, seek reassurance, and provide you morsels of honesty that are carefully selected to deceive. They will attempt to create the appearance of closeness by faking vulnerability, sharing secrets, and exaggerating empathy. Not because they believe you, but because they want to reclaim control of the narrative. They want to know what you know, how you know it, and how dangerous you are to the self-image they've been presenting to the world. Infiltration is their method of plugging the gaps in their performance. They believe that if they grasp your view, they can rewrite themselves to seem immaculate again. If that doesn't work, they'll attempt to persuade you that you completely misinterpreted the scenario, that your joke just struck too close to something fictional, and that your overanalysis is purely coincidental. They'll attempt to gaslight you back into blindness since your clarity threatens their survival strategy of retreat. Silence. The eyewitness. If penetration fails or is too hazardous, they will withdraw. The distancing may seem courteous at first, a steady fading disguised by explanations such as being busy, fatigued, or just overwhelmed recently. But make no mistake, it is a planned retreat. They're backing away because your presence suddenly seems radioactive. Every interaction with you is an opportunity for exposure. Every look seems like a scan, so they avoid you. They skip events. They cease sharing personal information. They keep communication to a bare minimum. Short texts. Surface level. Small conversation. Neutral subjects. It's not chilly. It is dread. Management. They have concluded you are too clever to be around. It is too perilous for them to establish their identity. They begin compartmentalizing, making interactions transactional, avoiding emotive topics, and maintaining control of each utterance. When they have to engage, you can sense the stress. Their grins will be delayed. Their laughing renders their words sterile. They'll make just enough touch to escape suspicion, but never enough to provide fresh information. You've become the person they need to emotionally edit themselves in front of the mirror. They avoid at all costs. And the irony? Both tactics expose them even more. Those who overcompensate reveal themselves via their intensity. Those who retreat give themselves away by their absence. In any case, the mask fractures because their energy reveals what their lips refuses to admit. You've seen something they can no longer conceal. The underlying fact is that your perspective caused existential fear in them. They based their self-worth on the belief that they were unreadable, untouchable, and unknowable. When you looked beyond that, you saw it was more than simply humiliation. It was identity collapse. You became live evidence that their control is not genuine. So now every move they make around you counts as damage control. They're not engaging with you anymore. They are connecting with a version of themselves. They assume you can see. But here's a twist. The more they attempt to control your vision, the more apparent they become. Their chuckle will sound hollow. Their flattery will be mechanical. Their body language will convey concern. Even when they speak calmly, you will notice it. Micro tremors, hesitancy, and performance lag. And then you'll understand you don't need to say anything else. The harm was already done. You have revealed something irreparable. Your casual remark was not simply a jest. It was a discovery that shattered the fourth wall of their existence. It demonstrated that the truth cannot be controlled, perception cannot be manufactured, and you, without effort or design, wield the one power they dread the most. You see what is genuine. And once someone like you sees them, there's no way to avoid every interaction. That single instant becomes a silent fight in their minds. They are no longer talking to you. They are protecting themselves against you. Every statement seems like a potential trigger, every chuckle like a prospective setup. They can't rest because you could reveal another truth disguised as a joke. What if you casually disclose something else they've spent years burying? Every interaction is like standing under a spotlight from which they can't escape, waiting for another unwelcome discovery. Instead of tolerating the strain, they choose the only way that seems safe: retreat. They begin to fade gradually, not all at once. The messaging grows shorter, the calls less frequent, and the encounters colder. They begin refusing proposals with valid justifications. I've been busy. I just need some time. Right now, work is insane. But underneath those words is dread. Fear of being seen again. Fear that the next interaction may reveal another aspect of their veneer. They are afraid that another joke from you would destroy their final illusion. Here's the ironic part. They can't reveal the true reason they're avoiding you, because doing so would require them to accept that your joke had a genuine impact. They'd have to admit that the words you spoke in jest revealed something they'd kept hidden under years of emotional building. Instead, they begin creating tales to safeguard their reputation. They claim you've changed, that you're different now, or that they just grew apart. They invent easy stories to explain the distance, but each reason leads back to the same electrified moment. The time you uttered something truthful and then laughed about it. What they don't comprehend is that it wasn't only the words you spoke that destroyed them. That was how you stated it. It was the lightness, the ease with which you delivered it, as if the truth were common knowledge and everyone else could see it as well. That is what broke them. Because they were no longer only terrified of you. They feared everyone else. They started to worry whether this individual could see through me so easily. Has anybody else noticed? Who else is pretending not to realize how a single idea may shatter a person's feeling of security? Let's go further into why this dynamic is so psychologically effective. Humor is one of the oldest strategies for revealing the truth. Humans existed long before they could talk freely without fear of repercussions. They used laughing to convey what could not be uttered. Kings might learn the truth by gestures, under the protection of a joke. Comedians, philosophers, and storytellers have all used humor as a shield, allowing truth to slip by until it is too late to reject. That is precisely what occurs in situations like these. Humor reduces defenses. It slips past the ego. It deceives the mind into relaxing just enough for the truth to seep through the crevices. When someone hears a joke, they naturally stop preparing for a fight. The laughing gives a false feeling of safety, a shared understanding that we aren't taking this seriously. That is the underlying social pact underpinning comedy. The agreement that whatever is stated in jest will remain thus. The disguise makes the truth digestible. The contract protects both parties. The person delivering the joke is able to convey something truthful without causing friction. The one hearing it is able to accept something harsh without reacting. It's the ideal situation until the prank gets too near. When comedy hits too close to a raw nerve, the illusion breaks. The laughing fades in midstream, the energy stops, and the space seems smaller. Everyone is aware that something genuine has transpired. However, no one can admit it. That's when the social compact breaks down, since humor only works as a disguise if both parties agree to keep pretending. The second individual feels fully exposed. The equilibrium is gone. The joke no longer serves as enjoyment. It becomes a confession. The laughing changes from sincere to anxious. The eyes bolt away. The grins tighten, and the vibe in the room shifts from light to weighty. You can feel it. The undetectable reduction in pressure when truth quietly permeates the area. And this is what happened to them. You break the illusion without raising your voice, without conflict, and without purpose. You shattered the enchantment with a grin. You did not accuse them. You did not corner them. You just chuckled and revealed the truth as if it were the simplest thing in the world. That, more than anything, is what frightens those who conceal. They may fight when confronted, and they can deflect accusations. However, humor disarms them before they know it. You did not assault. You have disclosed. And disclosure is always riskier than attack. Aggression may be justified, but revelation provides no defense. It's clean, silent, and surgical. It leaves them standing there, vulnerable, while the rest of the world continues. Who is laughing? You turned their armor into glass without even meaning to. They are now stuck in a paradox. They can't call you out since it would validate everything you've stated. They can't remain close since each connection exposes them to new threats. They can't describe it to anybody since no one else can comprehend how a single joke may seem like a dissection. So they fled. However, even distance will not rescue them. Because what you shared was not about you. It was about them. And there is the tragic beauty of what occurred. The joke stopped, but the echoes lingered, replaying themselves in their minds at AM in the shower, on their commute, or in quiet. Every time they think about it, they hear your voice and get a sting of recognition. You did not just say anything hilarious. You've unlocked something. You made their subconscious communicate in a language it couldn't ignore. That is why comedy has such a profound impact. It's known as the Trojan horse of truth. You bring laughter at the front gate, and by the time the barriers come down, the truth has already entered, rearranging everything. And whether you intended to or not, you did just that. You armed comedy not with cruelty but with clarity. You handled truth like art, easily and spontaneously. And now they can't stop hearing, seeing, or feeling it. You didn't just make them chuckle. You made them see. And for individuals who have spent their whole lives concealing from themselves, it is the most horrific thing they can do. You transformed a joke into a precise strike and a clean surgical blow that sliced through every layer of their protection. You utilized humor as a vehicle for truth, a Trojan horse for disclosure that no one would have embraced in any other manner. If you'd stated it seriously, they could have blocked it. They might have fought about rationed allies, disputed or accused you of acting dramatically, but you didn't. You delivered it casually, smoothly, and with humor that stripped them of every viable counterargument. They couldn't defend without being guilty. I couldn't deny without confirming it. Couldn't reject without acknowledging it touched a nerve. You used a grin to set up a psychological trap in which any reply verifies what they were desperately trying to conceal. So the only option for them was to laugh, nod, grin, and pretend it didn't land. When it hit harder than anything anybody had ever spoken to them. It struck so deeply that they can still hear it in their brains long after the talk has concluded. Days later, weeks or even months later, they replayed it while laying awake at night, trying to tell themselves it was unimportant. But each repeat seems sharper and heavier. The more people think about it, the less it sounds like comedy and more like prophesy, for laughs fade but truth lingers, and your words reverberate like a judgment. Here's what they can't understand. You are not malevolent. You are not a manipulator, creating mental games with humor. You're not out here using wit to embarrass others. You are just wired differently. The brain links dots. The majority of individuals are unaware of their existence. You absorb details, tone, body language, micro-expressions, and discrepancies, which your mind immediately organizes into patterns that disclose what others conceal. You don't need to try. It is automated. You can see the architecture of people's speech. You can perceive the emotion behind their stance. You read between the syllables, not the phrases. So, when an opportunity arises, when the circumstances are ideal, and your intuition fires quicker than cognition, you just say it. You describe what you saw. You deliver the truth. The only way your brain understands how carelessly. With a rhythm that is natural. This is not cruelty. Fluency. You're proficient in the language of observation. Others may find the language amusing at times. Because laughing is the only response people have when their reality is challenged in public. They laugh because it is a safer alternative than admitting. Your filter was not designed to shield people from the truth. It was designed for time, context, and tone. You understand when to hold back for decorum. But you were never meant to filter reality. You witnessed too much to be quiet forever. And when the truth comes out, it does not burst violently. It flows out so effortlessly that people don't know what's happened until much later. It is not an assault. It is an exposure. You mirror the reality that they pretended did not exist. And this is what scares them the most. Because, from their viewpoint, you seem to be playing chess while they are playing checkers. You make a single, simple move and the whole board changes. They feel outmatched yet overpowering, as if you had access to sensitive knowledge that they believed was hidden away. It feels supernatural to them. They begin to assume you can read them, that you just know. But it isn't magic. It's pattern recognition boosted by empathy and accuracy. You do not breach people's privacy. You only see what's already there. Now, let's zoom out, since this isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a larger pattern in your life. This isn't the first time you've uttered something that struck like a lightning bolt. It is hardly the first time that a casual comment has shaken someone's sense of self. You've undoubtedly lost friendships, chances, or relationships without realizing why. You thought you were kidding. Simply being honest. Just conversing. However, for them it was a rupture. They couldn't tolerate being seen so plainly. You've been unwittingly triggering all your life. What you consider regular discussion, others see as exposure therapy, too genuine, too quick, and too raw. You don't dance around the reality. You give it with no ceremony, warning, or preparation. People who have formed their life on illusions are unprepared for such insight. You are unpredictable. Not because you're unpredictable, but because they never know when your insight may strike again. You've become the one whose words alter reality. Think about it. How many times have you seen that? Look at the blank look after you uttered something simple. The uncomfortable quiet that occurs when someone grows aloof after you make them laugh too loudly. That is the pattern in which you drop truth as others drop casual. You are not doing it knowingly. It is how your mind expresses what it perceives. You don't desire power in these situations. You grow powerful. People dread this sort of authority because it cannot be bought, controlled, or blinded. And that is the broader picture here. The joke that shattered someone's mind is only one illustration of something far greater. The rippling impact of your viewpoint. You don't just make people laugh. You make them face themselves. You don't simply dump words. You drop mirrors. Every interaction becomes a subtle test of ethics, and every joke serves as a mirror. People did not agree to seeing. You are not dangerous because you harm others. You are dangerous because you reveal the truth. They're not prepared to meet. So that's one joke. That one effortless moment that had someone reeling. Was never random. It was only the latest in a long line of inadvertent disclosures you've been giving your whole life. You didn't just make them chuckle. You made them recall who they were. And for those who live behind masks, this is the most terrible thing in the world. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the deepening of my faith. Help me believe you even when actual proof was lacking. Let me believe in your eternal presence, knowing that you will never hurt me. I realize that your intentions for me are ones of success rather than harm, in order to provide me with a bright future. Thank you, kind and everlasting Father, for always hearing my voice. I give this prayer to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provisions. I am thankful for your presence in my life and the richness you provide. If this video spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel and share it with others who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your trip and how you're getting ready for your own victorious homecoming. If you would like to help us out, please consider donating via Buy Me a Coffee. This allows us to consistently improve our content in order to provide you with the best possible experience. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No present is too tiny. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity spreads God's message and gives people hope. Do not stop here. Watch our next video for amazing insights into the indicators that indicate you are the chosen one. We've loved sharing this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for sticking with us until the finish. Keep shining brightly and face your fate with confidence. See you next time. Enlightened knowledge bestows blessings to all lovely individuals.